Imagine a kid, 13 years old, standing at the center of a massive arena, 20,000 pairs of eyes locked onto her every move. She takes a breath, she launches into the air, and in that single suspended moment, history, the youngest US figure skating champion ever. Now imagine that same girl just 3 years later, walking away from it all. At 16, by choice. No injury, no controversy, no scandal. She just stopped. And the world said she'd never come back. They were wrong. This is the story of Alysa Liu, and why right now, in May 2026, she might just be the most compelling athlete in America. Let's set the scene. January 2026, St. Louis, Missouri. The Enterprise Center, home to the Blues, home to some of the most electric sports moments the city has ever seen. But on this particular night, it isn't hockey, it's figure skating. And something is happening on that ice that stops people cold. A young woman glides out. You notice her hair first, horizontal blonde stripes against dark brown, like tree rings, she says. One new stripe every year since 2023. A living timeline of her comeback written right on her head. She's 20 years old. She's wearing a costume that shimmers under the arena lights, and when the music swells and she launches into the air, everything changes. In the stands, people who had never seen a figure skating competition in their lives suddenly found themselves gripping their armrests, holding their breath, and then erupting. Here's what you need to understand about Alysa Liu. She doesn't just skate, she makes you feel something. Not with tricks, not with performance, something deeper, something that science can't quite explain, but your nervous system absolutely can. But to understand why that moment in St. Louis hit the way it did, you have to go all the way back to Oakland, California, 2005. A little girl named Alysa, the oldest of 5 kids, the daughter of an immigrant father from China. Arthur Liu put her on skates at age 5. By the time she was 10, YouTube videos of this tiny dynamo landing jumps that grown women struggle to complete were already going viral. She was doing things no one her age, no one her gender had ever done. She became the first American woman to land a triple axel and a quadruple jump in the same competition at 13. 13. Think about what you were doing at 13. The records fell, the headlines followed. The youngest US women's champion in history, breaking a record held by Tara Lipinski, an Olympic gold medalist. Alysa wasn't just good, she was generational. And then came the 2022 Beijing Olympics. She was 16, she placed 6th, and shortly after returning home, Alysa Liu did something no one saw coming. She retired. Now, here's where the story gets complicated, and honestly, this is the part that makes me love her even more. The world assumed she quit because of pressure, because of failure, because 6th place wasn't enough. But that's not it, not even close. Alysa retired because she finally could. For the first time in her life, she was choosing herself. She told reporters she had no regrets, and she meant it. She went to UCLA. She went skiing for the first time. Can you picture that? The greatest jumper in US figure skating history on a ski slope discovering the same adrenaline in an entirely new form. She grew 7 inches. She got hair stripes. She got a frenulum piercing. She became Alysa, not the figure skating prodigy, not the national champion, not the Olympic athlete, just Alysa. But something kept pulling her back. On January 5, 2024, almost 2 years after retirement, she walked into a rink during a public session. Not a training session, a public skate. She just showed up, and within minutes, the triple salchow was back, the double axel, all of it, as if her body had never forgotten a single thing. 2 weeks later, she came back again. Within a month, she was calling her coaches. Philip de Guglielmo picked up the phone and spent nearly 2 hours trying to talk her out of returning. He gave her every reason to stay retired. She had a comeback answer for every single one. And when he pointed out she was older now, that training would be harder, that comebacks rarely work, she looked right back and said, "I'll only be 21 at the next Olympics." On March 1st, 2024, she posted a video on Instagram. 7 words. No press conference, no announcement tour. Just, this 2024-25 season, back on the ice. The skating world collectively lost its mind. What followed was one of the most staggering athletic comebacks in recent American sports history, and almost nobody outside the figure skating community was watching. Her first competition back, she won. First place. By March 2025, at the World Figure Skating Championships in Boston, Alysa Liu stood atop the podium and became the first American woman to win the world title in 19 years. 19 years. The last one was Kimmy Missner in 2006. And Alysa did it her way. No overbearing coaching structure, no parental pressure. She even had to gently push her own father to the back seat, a conversation that anyone who grew up with a driven parent will immediately understand. She told her team, "Everything has to come from me." And then she went out and proved exactly what that meant. Back to St. Louis, January 2026, the U.S. Figure Skating Championships, which this year doubled as the Olympic trials. Everything on the line. One mistake and Milan is gone. She came in using her MacArthur Park Free program, a piece she'd competed with before but which she'd revamped, and she made a gamble that absolutely no one else in that building would have made. She decided to debut a brand new long program at the Olympic trials with an Olympic spot on the line. That's not confidence, that's something else entirely. That's an athlete who has made peace with every possible outcome and decided to skate anyway, on her own terms, in her own way, to hell with the conventional wisdom. She placed second, silver medal. Amber Blen took gold in a performance that was, and Alysa said this herself while standing at the boards and clapping her hands off, really fun to watch. She cheered her competitor. She celebrated someone else's greatness with zero bitterness, zero ego, zero performance of graciousness, just genuine joy. Everyone's telling me it was fun to watch. I'm like, I agree. Watching Amber was really fun for me. That moment, that quote, is the whole thing. That is exactly why she is my favorite athlete these days. Here's the deeper truth that this story is really about. We live in an era obsessed with winning, with branding, with the performance of ambition. Every athlete these days has a journey narrative packaged by a PR team. Every comeback story is engineered for maximum emotional impact. Everything is content. Alysa Liu is the antithesis of all of that. She retired when everyone wanted her to keep going. She came back when everyone said not to. She shows up to a national championship and roots loudly for her competition. Her coach tells reporters she doesn't want to be famous, she just wants to be Alysa. She went to the Olympics in Milan and won 2 gold medals, team event and individual, and when it was over, her first instinct wasn't a press tour, it was let's go to Prague and defend the world title. She's 20 years old. She's already rewritten the record books twice, once as a child prodigy and again as a returning champion. She's an Olympic gold medalist, a world champion, and the first American woman to win an individual Olympic figure skating medal since Sasha Cohen in 2006. And all of it, every single bit of it, was done completely, utterly on her own terms. So here's what I want to ask you. Think about a moment in your own life when the whole world told you no, when the smart money said don't bother, when the conventional wisdom said the door was closed, the moment had passed, the chance was gone. What would it look like to show up anyway? What if the answer wasn't a grand statement or a dramatic declaration, but just a quiet walk into a public skate session on a January afternoon, leasing up your skates and stepping back onto the ice? That's the lesson Alysa Liu is teaching right now. And honestly, it might be the most important sports story no one is really talking about. Her name is Alysa Liu. She came back to St. Louis. She came back to the Olympics. She came back to the world. And she did it all as herself. If you've never watched figure skating before, watch it now. Watch her. Because something about seeing a 20-year-old glide across that ice, striped hair, frenulum piercing, a smile that could light up the Enterprise Center, and absolutely effortlessly soar, will do something to your insides. something that feels a lot like hope. Like, comment, and subscribe because there are a lot more stories like this one coming, and you don't want to miss them.